Scar Tissue, a work for radio by Bernard Hebb. This is a work based on a series of poems that look at childhood, parenting, gender, and what it might mean to be a man. Through my childhood and teenage years, I lived on the east coast of Lincolnshire in the fishing port of Grimsby. It had that terrific vitality of a working seaport, cosmopolitan with crew, and they not always well tolerated by the local trawlermen. Fights and scuffles would break out in the streets, fuelled by too much booze of the 3-day millionaires. That is, a crew member who gets paid when the catch is landed and spends the 3-day turnaround time for his ship in taxis and pubs, before stumbling back onto his ship, still not sober. So it was a town with a lot of pubs and a culture of drink. Scar Tissue. It was the coughing, always the coughing, rich, fruity and bubbling deep in his chest, phlegm fuelled by players' navy cut and senior service. On high days or holidays, perhaps Sobrani Black Russian, a passing cloud or a player's number 3. A small man with a surfeit of good manners, a gentleman, a true gentleman, they would say. After work, after school, after tea, one day he took me to the beach. An ice cream from Woodall's on the way. In that cold East Coast sea, I played, got wet and dry again, made a friend and fell over, splitting my knee. Pressing a handkerchief to close the wound, we went by bus to the hospital. Well cut, and then there were the suits, always double-breasted and well cut, making a short man squat, the thinning dark with brilliantine hair and horn-rimmed spectacles, a too perfect match for a comedian of the day, and he revelled in the borrowed fame. Every acquaintance a friend for the price of a few drinks, a lifetime spent in the opening hours comradeship of pubs, and the suits rank with tobacco and hops. In the bathroom, and in the morning in the bathroom, behind the frosted door, he would cough and reach, cough and reach and retch and reach and retch and spit, as he smoked his first cigarette of the day. Outside the door, I would wait, almost sick, until I washed my face in that sweet, warm, stinky fug of smoke and shit. Michael Boswell's dad was tall and had curly blonde hair. He wore big laced boots, jeans with turnips and lumberjack shirts. He played the saxophone in a dance band and drove a big grey-bodied Foden lorry. Michael Boswell lived with his gran because his dad was divorced, and sometimes when his dad visited him, we would sit in the cab of the lorry. In the cab of that lorry that smelt of tar, hot oil, diesel, sweat, old rope, fish meal, and park drive cigarettes, I wished that Michael Boswell's dad was my dad too. Robin Barrasses Dad was a soft, gentle man with a rich, quiet voice, and he looked like Glenn Miller. He smoked a pipe and was something in insurance. Robin Barrasses Dad was a sailor of small boats and played the drums in a jazz band. I wished that Robin Barrasses Dad was my dad too. Telescopes. Just have a peep through the telescope, he would say. See if anyone's following us. And I couldn't understand why anyone would want to, and worried. Wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, he would wink and join me in his conspiracy of not telling Mum. No wonder I had headaches. Such responsibility, such secrets.
We could leave after Easter, doesn't matter.
Namesake.
Exhibition, yeah.
I was pleased to look like my mother. A proper trig, they would say. Trigs were tall and slim, with a hint of Spanish ancestry, a darkness of hair, skin and eyes, a large family of high achievers from humble origins, successful in business, and with the generosity of new money, they slipped easily into the middle class and protected, nurtured and supported me beyond my anger that my name was not Trig. Headache. And then there is the chiming of the clock, stirring the memory, filling the hall, filling the landings, the stairs, insisting into rooms, into memory. Bernard, the broken-voiced call of my mother, swathed in migraine and damp with illness. Bernard, she calls again, for hot water with lemon, and I hear her retching in her dark, sour room. How can a mother be so ill? And it marks the quarters, and it marks the halves, persistently measuring the days, always fucking chiming. Big boy sleeping, and I wonder how he grew so tall, over 6 foot and just 15. I watch this big boy sleeping, still with innocence. His big lips flutter gently with each breath. His feet, such big feet, hang over the end of the bed settee. How did he become so big that he's outgrown his age's fashions? And I'm sure his air is rarer from where he reaches down to hug me. Cribbage. 15-2, 15-3, 15-4, and the rest won't score. 1 for his knob and 2 for his heels, 3 for a run, 4 for a flush, and the rest won't go. Pegging the board with a tiny pin in his enormous hand, this ship's husband, my grandfather, scored his cards and those of his companion, a distant aunt, Alice. Once he came to visit and was taking me home with him. By the park he looked down at me, coming to see my baby, eh? He said. You're too old to have a baby, I said. He looked hurt, and his baby was Johnny, his new dog. 15-2, 15-3, 15-4. I remember Grimsby and feel lost and homeless, absent from all those atmospheres, all those days, from the ever-present desire to escape. I remember Grimsby as a never-ending fog, constant wet Saturdays and headaches. An age of migraines and big skies over 40-acre fields. I remember Grimsby as a flatness of being. The day my mother died, I was out of mind, out of feelings, out of home, and in a woman's bed in Liverpool. The early morning call from my brother broke the fog of sleep and fucking, and bemused by bereavement, I never mourned, never shed a tear. Now the glisten in the eyes is the pain of the body's memory, and the rhythm of events long gone finally finds its emotions feeling, and I hear the pulse of a sob. Given to the people. It was sunny in the park that day, and on the model boat pond children sailed their yachts in varying states of despair as they slumped over with sodden sails, or simply failed to respond to the scurrying breezes and drifted listlessly, becalmed. Meanwhile, we played chase and tag and hid secretly under pungent bushes, delighting in the sexual thrill of seeing and being unseen. Above the summer hum of insects and birds, the regular tonk of ball against racket from the distant courts. On the far field, a desultory game of cricket is ending as enthusiasm wanes. Then, in front of us, his audience, he pulled his hand across his throat, and there was blood coming through his fingers. He staggered and lay on the grass, and one of us ran to get the park keeper. The distress of the days, and the rage is the pain in the head, the ache in the back, the crick in the neck, and the anger is the distress of the days, the walking, the running, the sleeping, the waking, and the pain is the pain of failure and exhaustion, and the rage is the anger of depression, turning in, turning in, turning in.
Oh, isn't he sweet?
Oh, sugar. They measured love as bags of sugar, always demanding to know how many they were worth. Confused as to how these 1 and 2 pound blue paper bags equated with hugs and kisses, I never knew the right amount to say. And mumbling with embarrassment, I might mutter 2, hopefully, dreading to hear, "Is that all?" So many conditions to fulfill, so many scales to balance. Haute Couture. Oh, he's Lottie's boy, is he? He ought to be a girl with lashes like that and those big brown eyes. Between dresses, in their whaleboned underwear, they'd say I would have to wear a slide to hold my hair out of those eyes. And when, in that brown double-breasted velvet-collared coat and a navy beret pulled to one side, I blinked, the girls in the shop pretended to swoon. Confused by perfumes, the swishing of skirts and the rustle of stockings, I was, at knee-height, surrounded by the smell of women, and, unwrapping a sweet, relaxed into their warmth. Hope and anchor. Later, the forehead leant against cool tile, inhaling the sweet astringent of Lysol and piss into my vomit-burnt nasal tracts, I would receive that urinal compassion of older, wiser men. All right then, lad. Then drink-sodden and ill, the sobering, swaying return to sit white-faced before another round. And sometimes, in his element, our paths would cross, and he would wink in recognition, pretending not to have seen. Still the secrets, still not telling Mum.